everybody, this will be the second in my Valentine's card series, and all of the stamps, I showed you some of them, are Studio G stamps that I bought last year, those really cheap $1 little sets that you can get, and I got them at the Craft Warehouse and they had them all for 99 cents each, or I think I even got them 50 cents each, I don't remember, but it was really cheap, so I have a ton of them. And there's a whole bunch of different styles of hearts, and I'm just stamping them in Versamark, and I'm going to emboss them. I do want to mention that this particular card was inspired by a different card, a card that actually looks fairly different, but I will link the card that inspired me below. I just saw it tonight, and this card flew into my head as I was watching her make her card. It has a similar layout and some similar ideas, but it is very different than her card. So I stamped all the way across in different styles of hearts in the white, and then I'm going, in the Versamark, then I'm going to go ahead and apply white ultrafine embossing powder to those hearts. And I should mention that this is the 110-pound Recollections cardstock that you can get at Michael's. That's white. And I'm going to go ahead and emboss these. And then I'm going to take out Spun Sugar, Worn Lipstick, and Picked Raspberry. And I'm going to do an ombre effect on the front of the card. Just putting the ink in. So I start out with the Spun Sugar, and I use that sponge that's been used a lot, and I think the Spun Sugar is darker than it should be, but actually it dried pretty light, so maybe I'm just not used to using this technique. Then I use the Worn Lipstick, and it is much darker. And then I come in with the Picked Raspberry, and I really push that Picked Raspberry so that it goes very, very dark and very, very bright. So it's a good hot pink at the bottom. I come back in with a clean makeup sponge to add a little bit of the Spun Sugar to the top, just to kind of smooth out that stamping at the top. And it looks really blotchy to me, but once the card dries, it becomes very even. So I guess it just evened out as it dried. I haven't done much of that effect before. I pull out a different, there's this very long string of tiny hearts on a string stamp that came in those stamps. And I stamped that at the very bottom as a border in, that's VersaFine Black Onyx ink. One of my favorite stamps for getting really fine detail. And then the greeting says pass around some love, and it's just a circle, and I'm going to layer it twice. So I stamp it in Positively Pink Stampin' Up! Ink. If I'm going to do detailed stamping, I prefer to use Stampin' Up! Ink to the Tim Holtz ink. It tends to give a cleaner image. And then of course the VersaFine, and I'm cutting these out to layer. So the pink is going to be the bottom layer, and then I'm going to cut the very center for the top layer. And I cut out the cutting because that's boring to watch. And I'm popping this up on foam tape so that it's dimensional. My inspiration card had a piece popped up on foam tape. Not exactly like this, but similar. Okay, and then I've got my card base, and I want to do some layers behind the card base. And I also want to make some little banners because the the Inspiration One card had those. So I'm using the crepe paper Hello Love line for this, and I wish I had the 6x6 pad for this because it would be a better fit, but that's not what I have. So I'm using my big papers there. I'm doing my best to kill that Hello Love, and I'm working hard at it. So I'm going to put just a little thin skiff there at the bottom of that. And then I'm also going to grab the little hearts there out of the Hello Love, and I'm going to use a bit of that, just a strip for my banners. And then I had some hot pink glitter paper, and that's die cuts with a view. And I cut a strip of that. So I'm going to go ahead and first make the little borders at the very bottom. They're just 1/8 of an inch borders at the bottom. One in the stripe, in the black and white stripe, and then one in the glitter paper. And then I take the leftover glitter paper and make a banner. And the little heart piece, I make a banner out of that. And then I take the stripe and I make a banner out of that as well. And I just layer these up. And I just like the way these little banners looked. And it ties the top and the bottom of the card together so well. That's one of the things I really liked about the inspiration piece that I used. Glue them down. And I try it on the card, but I think it needs a black border. So I cut a layer of the inexpensive Thin Recollections black cardstock and glue that down. And I just love this card. It's so cute. I love it. And not too complicated. All right, there's my close-up. Have a nice evening.